What's up, YouTube? This is Christ-Centered Mental Health. My name is David Sarche. I'm coming to you real quick. I'm going to do the next section of my video series based on this book, Competent Counsel by J. Adams. If you're just tuning into this series for the first time, I highly suggest you go back and watch the previous videos in this series first before you watch this video. So, just so you can get the full context of what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the next chapter I'm in is um, chapter 6. Like, sorry, I had to backtrack for a second just to make sure I got the correct chapter. But yeah, I'm in chapter 6. The title of the chapter is called Nouthetic and Rogerian Counseling. Alright, so the first couple of statements he makes I actually agreed with. The first statement he made, he said, the Rogerian system confirms sinful man's belief that he is autonomous and has no need of God. Conservatives must reject Rogerian counseling on the basis of its humanistic presuppositions alone. It begins with man and ends with man. Man is his own solution to his problems. Now, I do agree that any view that is man centered instead of God centered should be rejected right off the bat. If it's not God centered, then that ideology needs to be rejected and cast to the side. But like if it's God centered, then that's something that we should strive for. We should always strive to be Christ centered. We shouldn't be man centered. We should be Christ centered. The next thing he said that I actually agreed with, he said he was talking about Matthew chapter 7, which those of you who are familiar with Matthew chapter 7, that's the most popular chapter talking about, oh, judge not lest ye be judged. People misquote that scripture all the time. Like, Jesus wasn't saying that you shouldn't judge at all. He was just saying you should make right judgments. You need to first take the plank out of your own eye before you can take the speck out of your brother's eye. So that's what Jesus was saying. He wasn't saying don't judge at all. He was just saying make right judgments and don't make hypocritical judgments. First judge yourself before you can judge other people. Anyway, so J. Adams says about that passage, he said, the passage in question condemns judging in a hasty manner, without evidence. Judging others before straining out one's own life is also forbidden. Judging intended to denounce another in order to raise one's own ego is condemned. But judgments of moral value in counseling are precisely what the scriptures everywhere commend. There can be no morally neutral stance in counseling. Now, I do agree there shouldn't be, no one is neutral, so we shouldn't pretend to be neutral, whether it's in counseling or when it's in debating or whatever. You should never pretend to be neutral. Neutrality is a myth, and therefore people should not be neutral. And like I know that goes counterculture to what our culture says. Our culture says people need to be unbiased and need to be neutral, but no one is neutral. Atheists aren't neutral. Agnostics aren't neutral. Christians don't need to be neutral. Muslims aren't neutral. No one is neutral, so therefore we shouldn't be. We shouldn't strive to be neutral. Like yeah. The next thing he said that I agreed with, he said the pastor cannot set aside his convictions even temporarily. Even if he could, he would be wrong in doing so. His Christian presuppositions must at all times control the interview. To accept sinful behavior in the eyes of the client is to condone it. Now, yes, I agree. Like a pastor should not um set aside his own presuppositions for the sake of his clients or the person or his counselee. Like the pastor or counselor needs to operate from their presuppositions to better help the counselee. Like so, I agree with that. No, like that goes along with the point before that no one is neutral and no one should strive to be neutral. Um, Now, the next thing he said, this is why I disagreed with him. He said, the client begins the interview. I'm really upset. The counselor focuses upon that word and reflects it back in different words. I see that you're torn in two ways. That's right, says the client. I'm very distressed. I see, the counselor replies, that you are quite troubled. My difficulty is that I don't know what to do about a certain problem, says the client. You are trying to find a solution. Oh, you were trying to find a solution, says the counselor. Is that yes, that's right. Hold on. Sorry. Like, this is. Okay. I've had problems. He says, yes, that's right. I've had problems with homosexuality. Do you think homosexuality is wrong? Asks the client. And his counselor replies, I see you are asking me whether homosexuality is ethically wrong or religiously proper. This is not listening. Listening means taking interest in what another says and responding appropriately. Like, this is such a cartoonish version of how counseling goes. Like, when I go to see my therapist does not talk like this with me. He confronts me where I'm at, and he challenges me to think differently about certain stuff. Like like this is such a cartoonish picture of what counseling is about. I know other people who go to counseling, and I guarantee you that the people I know that go to counseling will say that this is not how this what Jay Adams is showing here is not how counselors actually operate. So I don't know where Jay Adams is coming up with this example of counseling, but this is not how counseling is done. Like like it's just crazy to me how he honestly believes this is an accurate portrayal of how counseling goes or secular counseling goes, because I'm pretty sure he'll say Christian counseling is done differently, but this is how he thinks secular counseling goes, and he's wrong. Now, the next thing I disagreed with, he said, sometimes instead of speaking of mental illness, people talk about emotional problems, but this language is as confusing as the former. When a client feels depressed or high or anxious or hostile, there really is no problem with his emotions. His emotions are working only too well. It is true that his emotions are not pleasant, but the real problem is not emotional, it is behavioral. Solutions aimed at relieving the emotions directly, as in chemical methods like pills or alcohol, therefore must be considered to be nothing more than the relief of symptoms. Now, this is just crazy. Oh, like there is like if someone has bipolar disorder, that is an emotional problem. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain that causes emotional problems. Like you can have really highs and really lows, or like it's you go to the extreme of being really high or being really low. It's like really like you fluctuate quickly, or you go up and down like frequently. Like like it's just crazy to me that he's saying that medication is only does nothing more than to relief of symptoms. I have bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Like, and I could tell you from firsthand experience that my fluctuation of moods is an emotional problem. Like I have to take medication to stabilize my moods. If I don't take my medication to stabilize my moods, then my moods are going to go way out of control. I'm going to shoot straight up to the sky 1 minute, and the very next minute I'm going to drop straight down to hell in the very next minute. Like I have emotional problems. If I don't take my medication, my emotions will skyrocket out of control. So it's not my medication isn't just relieving symptoms. My medication is stabilizing my moods. Like, then he goes on to say, so to have good days, one must do good deeds. Like theoretically speaking, yes, this is true. That if you do good deeds, it can help you. It can elevate your mood, and like it can elevate your mood, make you, yeah, and like help you have a good day. However, like when I get in a depressed mood, all I want to do is lay in bed all day, and that's perfectly fine. If I'm depressed, I want to lay in bed all day. I can lay in bed all day if I want to. Like I don't have to get up and do good and do things. Like if I'm depressed and I want to lay in bed all day, I can do that. Like like I don't think I'm obligated to do good deeds. Like that's how I feel about that. Like then he goes on to say, this is why I actually agree with him on this. He said, a good conscience, according to Peter, depends upon good behavior. Good lives come from good deeds. Good consciences come from good behavior. Like, I do agree that if you do good things, you will have a clear conscience, and you'll live a better life. Like, but again, people like me don't always want to do good things. Sometimes we don't want to do anything at all. Sometimes we just want to lay in bed all day. And sometimes we can't even get out of bed because we get so depressed that we don't want to get out of bed, and we just literally cannot get out of bed. Like, that's on those days, like I can't do anything other than just sleep because that's all I can do. Like if I can't get out of bed, then I can't get out of bed because I'm so depressed. And I know this is hard for people to understand who don't struggle with emotional problems like bipolar or depression. They don't understand how you could get so depressed that you literally can't get out of bed. But it is true. People like us, when we get down depressed enough, we literally cannot get out of bed. Like, so that's how I feel about that. Anyway, so the next part, I disagree with him. He said, there is no emotional problem. One should not try to smash his conscience then. He will not want to put it to sleep by pills or any means that would anesthetize it. In First Timothy 4:2, Paul referred to those who are seared, cauterized in their own conscience as with a branding iron. Okay, taking medication is not searing your conscience. First off, like when I take medication, I'm not searing my conscience. My conscience is still alive and well, and I still listen to my conscience. But but taking medication does not sear it. Like I'm still fully aware of my conscience, and I know what I do when I'm doing something that's against God, and I know when I'm doing something that's right. So my conscience is still very much active. Medication did not sear it. Hold on, I think I skipped something. Oh, I guess I didn't. I thought I skipped some. I thought I skipped a part. Okay. Anyways, going on. Sorry. The next part. The next part, I disagreed with him. He said, so it is clear that an outside source imposed upon the counselee from above is an authoritative fashion by means of precepts, commandments, instruction, words, reproof, discipline, and correction is what a young man or any client seeking counseling needs. Rather than encouraging clients to do all the talking, counselors frequently ought to urge clients to listen to words of advice. The counselee needs to learn to listen to words of counsel, reproof, commandment, and instruction. That he has not done so in the past may be one major cause of his present distress. Now, I disagree with this wholeheartedly because a lot of times when you go to counseling, you all you really need to do is just vent. Is to let out your emotions and express yourself and have someone listen to you. A lot of times, I mean, that's been my experience. A lot of times when I went to counseling, like I didn't really need my counselor to really talk. I just needed him or her to really listen to me and just give me a listening ear while I vent my emotions and let it all out. Like, so a lot of times, like, the counselor doesn't really need to say anything at all. And to as for um saying that we need precepts, commandments, instruction, words, reproof, and discipline and correction, like that can have its place sometimes, but if I'm out of my mind and I'm having hallucinations and I'm delusional, it doesn't matter what you say to me. You can sit there and try and correct me all you want or reprove me or whatever. I'm not gonna listen to you. Like, I'm just gonna sit there and it's gonna go in one ear and out the other. Like, so yes, while there is a place for reproof and correction and stuff like that, I don't think that's generally the case for every single counseling situation. Like, I think the therapist needs to exercise judgment in deciding whether or not they should just offer a listening ear to listen to the counselee, or if they do need to correct them and reprove them. I think the counselor should exercise proper judgment and listen to the voice of God in guiding them in their counseling situation. Okay. I think that might. Yep, that's it. All right, that's all. This is actually the shortest video I've done in this series. I hope you guys appreciated I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing in criticizing this book, and I hope it's helping people out there. And yeah, I hope that it's helping you have a better understanding of nuthetic counseling and why I'm so strongly against nuthetic counseling. Like, and I hope that if you're coming across this video and you're wondering what nuthetic counseling is about, I'm hoping this video will give you a good idea of what it's about and help you decide for yourself that you don't want to go through this counseling, because I believe nuthetic counseling is really dangerous for mentally ill people, and I wouldn't suggest any person who struggles with mental illness to go through this kind of counseling. Like, it's very dangerous, harmful, and it's just like I think that you need to, if you struggle with mental illness, I think you need to stay away from nuthetic counseling. This is my firm belief, and I know a lot of Christians might hate me for saying this, but I think nuthetic counseling is unbiblical, and um it goes against mental health. Like, so I would suggest, if you really want to see a counselor, I would suggest seeing a Christian counselor or seeing a secular counselor, because either one can help you. Anyway, so the next chapter is titled Confess Your Sins. It's chapter 7. Um, I'm gonna do that probably tomorrow or the next day. I don't know when. But as always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to rate and subscribe. All right, have a good night. God bless you, and deuces.